Bob, what's your take of the last couple of days you spent in Cairns here with the young guys and girls from the North Queensland Crocodile Protection Society?
Hi, Colin. Look, I was actually so impressed with how these young Australians have progressed with this crocodile issue, and I was also so pleased with the education program that we did down on the Esplanade with the local people and the tourists. How once you explain the situation to them fully, so they understand the ramifications of what the government are doing, then they are very, very much on the side of the crocodile. And they, you know, they're all good people. They all realise that, nature is just so important to our own survival, and that we shouldn't really be messing around with, altering the biodiversity of river systems and swamps and lakes and beaches and things like that. That we should let nature take care of all these things that are happening.
Now, what about something I heard you say over the weekend, that what's the point of doing this? Because I think you went on to explain about if they do take them all out of that area, they're going to move back in unless they keep wiping them out and wiping them out and wiping them out. Do you think it's going to be an ongoing thing that they're going to roll out up the Cape, up into Weipa, Cooktown, Port Douglas? So, if they take them all in those areas, it's getting back to the 70s again, isn't it? Where it's really going to be heading towards the extinction of those animals.
Yeah. Look, Colin, I was sort of one of those guys that was around in the really, really early 70s and late 60s when crocodiles in Queensland, it was a really close thing with, whether crocodiles would have survived that hunting period. And thankfully in those times we had some very brave politicians that were prepared to not only do some research or actually listen to the researchers, but understand that these animals were close to extinction then. And so, the crazy part of this is that the government and the authorities will never ever be able to say that places like the Barron River and the Mowbray and all these other rivers around Cairns are ever going to be empty of crocodiles. Crocodiles come and go, and my fear is that people will become complacent over a period of time. I mean, it may not happen next week or next month or even next year, but further on down the track, people will think, oh, well, the government have said, well, we've got all the crocs out of the river now, let's go for a swim. Everything's going to be fine, Well, that isn't going to be the case. And, it would be terrible to think that some little kid's going to go down there thinking it's safe to have a swim, and we're going to have a terrible, terrible accident,
So you expect an attack now?
Oh, I'd say down the track, Colin. Certainly there is a really strong possibility, because keep in mind that they are definitely going to take out all the larger male crocodiles. Certainly they're going to come out, because they're going to be the ones that are probably more easily caught than some of the others. But Colin, the thing is, these larger crocodiles, been there for a long time, they actually control those rivers. They make sure that the younger crocodiles have got to spread out and get out of their way. So the large crocodiles own that section of the river. If you take those big guys out of there, then these young teenagers are going to come in, and it's just going to be a free-for-all.
So you're saying, like, at a boat ramp, and you can look on the other side of the bank there, and you can see a large croc there, you'd be confident there's no juniors and juveniles there, because that's his territory. So
that's his territory.
It's better to know and see him there than remove him, and then you'd be worrying that all the juveniles are moving in, and there will be 3, 4, 5 crocodiles. Is that the case?
Exactly. exactly. And the other thing, Colin, is, you know, because they won't ever be able to say that all these rivers are free of crocodiles now, you know, I mean, that'd be a crazy thing to say. Then really, what is the point? What is the point? Why are we doing it? I mean, how many accidents with crocodiles do we have every year in Queensland? One, maybe? Ooh, at a push we might get two. How many kids drown in Queensland, Colin?
32, I think, at the last count in Queensland alone.
That's
and
right.
I think we heard 40 odd in Western Australia.
Yeah.
So
that was the figure quoted.
yeah,
You know, let's get our priorities right. Let's get it right. Do we take everything out of the state that is a threat to humans? I mean, it's just really pointless. And over many years, I and Australia Zoo and whatever work closely with QPWS, the Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service, in removing crocodiles from boat ramps and other areas where they were being a little bit naughty, you know. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. And that system worked really well for years and years and years. There was very seldom any problem.
what did you do with them?
Most of those crocodiles in the early times were actually relocated to other areas, right? And then later on, further on down the track, a lot of them went to zoos. A very few of them went to crocodile farms. Some of them did. But I am so against altering the whole of the ecosystem, because that's what they're going to do. The government have just reacted to a handful of people that have no idea how these really special ecosystems work. And when you take an animal out of a system, doesn't matter what size it is or what that animal is, it has an effect on the whole system. And to actually take out the apex predator is possibly the worst thing you can do. Why do we protect great white sharks? Why do we do that? Because they are important to the ocean.
In Queensland alone, what scientists would you have full faith to provide information to people on the traits and the lifespans and the practicalities of a crocodile? Who in Queensland would you say would be the foremost expert?
Colin, there is one gentleman that I've worked with, and many other people have worked with over a lot of years, and his name is Dr. Craig Franklin, and he's done some of the research that Craig has done is mind-blowing. He's found out things that we never ever knew anything about, and this research that Dr. Franklin is doing is ongoing. I mean, he's continuing this research every year. You know, why didn't the government consult somebody like Craig Franklin? Why didn't they do that? I can understand them not talking to me because maybe I create a few problems, but Craig is a genuine research scientist. He has the knowledge, he has the background, and he has the ability to inform the government on the right way to do things with crocodiles.
Well, I don't have that knowledge, Bob, and I spoke on Weekend Sunrise recently, and I pointed out all the threats in the other states, and they are numerous, and everyone that lives in New South Wales with funnel webs, trapdoor spiders, great whites in Western Australia, unpatrolled beaches, snakes, redbacks, the list was limitless in other states. Now, a bloke like you just mentioned should be on the Crocodile Advisory Committee, shouldn't he? Shouldn't they have some expertise? I believe it has people on there with no knowledge of crocodiles, like surf life-saving presidents. They also have crocodile farmers on there. Like, it has no credibility. If you had someone like that on there, he was recently ridiculed by the local government minister who has no knowledge of the environment and crocodiles. What do you think about that?
Well, I actually read those remarks that Christofouli, the politician in question, said about Dr. Craig Franklin, and to be perfectly honest, Colin, I was staggered. I was absolutely staggered that here is a politician that does not understand how nature works, saying very detrimental things about a research scientist that spent his life researching something that is so important to the whole of this state. Colin, North Queensland, which is a place I absolutely love. I love North Queensland. That's why I keep coming back. Is I'm not sure what the figures are, but let's just say it probably relies at least 80% on the tourism industry. Would I be correct in those sort of things?
Very close.
So the tourism industry is really, really important to North Queensland, whether it be Cairns, Townsville, or wherever it may be. Now the reason, and this is very obvious, the reason the tourists come to this beautiful part of Queensland is not just for the scenery, it's for the unique wildlife that North Queensland has to offer. And part of that is the excitement and the joy of seeing a crocodile in the wild.
You spoke to hundreds of people on Saturday down on the Esplanade in the city of Cairns, and a lot of tourists expressed something to you, that they come out of the airport, they went and hired a car. What was the very first thing they wanted to go and see?
The first thing they want to see is a crocodile. Not in a zoo or a croc farm. They want to see it in the wild where they occur naturally. Well, come on guys, get your act together. It is your environment, but you're probably going to have to fight for it.